As an adult looking back on my childhood, there is very little that comes close to matching the feeling of picking up an action figure, a Lego man or a plastic army man and bringing them to life through the power of imagination. Creating a base in the garden out of plant pots, sand and mud and pitting them against each other was a joy at the time and a fond childhood memory still to this day. HYPERCHARGE Unboxed takes that memory and attempts to bring it to life by way of a toy-based first-person shooter with tower defense elements thrown in. But is it more than just a nostalgia trip? Well, I'm Glenn for SwitchUp, thank you to the developers for the review copy, and now let's find out. In terms of its gameplay, HYPERCHARGE Unboxed works as follows. Upon starting a match you will be escorted to your arena, and within this area there are a set amount of hypercore units. These units must be defended from the waves of enemies that will attack you throughout the match, as if your hypercore units are destroyed, you lose. As mentioned, you play in a first person mode and you shoot your weapon by pressing the ZR button, and whilst you have unlimited ammo, you will need to reload at times, so it's good to bear this in mind, as needing to do this as a horde of enemies close in on you is not ideal. You can reload manually at any time by pressing the Y button. Holding down ZL will bring your aiming sights into clearer view and will enable you to use the gyro aiming to refine your aim further. You can hold two weapons at any one time, and you are able to cycle between your current weapons by pressing the X button. Weapons can be found hidden within the stages and can also be purchased from shops that are again scattered around the stage. As well as new weapons, you can also buy upgrades for your existing weapon, and I really liked how the shops were basically the packaging of an action figure, whilst the guns and upgrades were the accessories you would get with the figure attached to the box with plastic ties. However, in order to purchase such items you will need to collect the in-game currency, which can be obtained throughout the level in the form of these gold coins as well as these packs. Currency is also earned by way of your actions, such as destroying enemies or placing batteries, and we'll touch on batteries in more detail in a moment. Something that I especially liked about the coins, aside from their primary use as currency of course, was their strategic placement within each stage. Sometimes you will notice that coins are greyed out, and this is because you must collect them in a particular order for these ones to then become collectible, and the coins are effectively used as breadcrumbs to lead you towards some of the intricacies of the level and make you aware of the fantastic level design, giving you glimpses of little ledges and areas that could make for a good base to snipe from as the waves intensify. Let's talk about the tower defense aspect of the game now. Basically, at the start of the match and between each round, you are given a set amount of time in which you can spend any of the currency you have in building up defences in and around your hypercore on designated spots on the ground. These start with basic walls, made of Lego type bricks of course, but you will unlock new defence types as you progress, such as castle walls, glue traps and even toy gun sentry units. Some of these defences are particularly effective against a particular enemy type, such as anti-air guns, so it pays to keep an eye on what may work best. Once you feel you have a sufficient defence, you can elect to end build time and the next wave will start within a few seconds. As well as defences, you can also build certain toys that will make traversing the level easier, such as towers. The building is quite simplistic and feels like it takes a bit of a back seat to the shooting, and I would say that this is a part of the game that could certainly be expanded upon further in any potential sequel. I mentioned batteries earlier, and these can be found strewn across the game world. The purpose of these is that they can be used to power the hypercore's defense system, effectively giving the hypercore a second energy bar. Finally, there are a set number of collectibles within each level. Some are hidden away in the crevices of the level, whereas others are quite easy to spot but will take some acrobatic jumping to reach. Thankfully, you can hold down the L button to run before pressing R to jump. Pressing it again whilst in the air will perform a double jump. Completion of a stage will award you with a graded medal based on your performance, which lends itself to replaying, as do the aforementioned collectibles. There are also a number of difficulty levels to choose from as well. This mode can be played in single player, local co-op on a split screen, or cooperatively online with up to 4 players. I played a good few hours of this with Mark, myself, along with friends of the channel Jace and Evan. Within these matches there were always a mix of people based here in the UK and some in the US, and thankfully there was no lag at all. Some of us were playing in handheld mode and some in docked, and again there were no performance problems. There was one occasion of the loading screen freezing for me, although everyone else was unaffected, meaning I had to reset the game, sit one round out and then rejoin everyone in the lobby afterwards. This was unfortunate, but thankfully it was the only example of any such problem during all of our play sessions. In terms of the balancing between the single player and multiplayer modes, It's noticeably easier with extra players, as you may well expect, with you being able to cover more ground between you, although the developers have stated that they are looking to add AI partners to single player mode post-launch. There is an 8-player online PvP mode as well, with a few different options here such as Deathmatch and Plague mode, and again these worked well and offered something a little different from the main game mode. The gameplay is a lot of fun and will hopefully build up a good online community, although the inclusion of local play and a single player mode was a very wise choice to safeguard against any potential lack of players online. It's a shame there's no story mode in single player, with you instead just playing through maps in sequence, although with 10 maps, some of which are locked until you achieve certain medal ranks, there's a decent amount of content. Gameplay scores 17 out of 20. Controls work well, with the platforming taking a little getting used to, although there are a host of options available for you to customise them as well, and they also score 17 out of 20. When it comes to the visuals, it's difficult to convey just how much detail has been put into each and every one of the stages. The developers really have gone the extra mile to ensure that everyone will see something that reminds them of their childhood, and I loved spotting all of the little nods to toys of a previous generation. My generation, to be precise. I must admit that I stopped mid-battle when I noticed a clever take on the boggling puppets I used to love as a kid and hadn't given a second thought to in many years. The rush of nostalgia only ended when I remembered that I was meant to be helping my teammates in battle at the time. Running around a faux Toys R Us, leaping between the shelves and finding a good vantage point on a half-filled trolley as you are invaded by army men, or trying to keep your footing on an air hockey table as a swarm of spin tops attempt to knock you off to your death, reading the posters on the wall of the kid's bedroom as you vault from surface to surface collecting coins, or building a layer of Lego bricks in an attempt to thwart the advances of various action figures and toy robots. Whatever it is you are doing, it looks fantastic. Yes, within the waves of enemies you will see the same type a number of times, but a new wave is introduced often enough to keep things fresh and varied. It's also the little touches, such as your build options being displayed as cards on your character's arm, which you can then cycle through. It's abundantly clear that a lot of love and care went into this game. You can customise your character with action figure pieces that you unlock as you play, and whilst it would have been nice to have a few more options here, it's still a nice touch. Performance wise, everything is smooth both online and offline, and the visuals are clear in docked and handheld mode. The music sounds suitably heroic and bombastic, and I liked how there was an ominous score playing in the background during build mode, only for the music to kick in properly once the waves of enemies began their assault. Weapon sound effects are incredibly meaty and really help to emphasise the kick each weapon has. Visuals evoke all the right nostalgic feelings whilst doing the job on a technical level too, and score 18 out of 20. Audio gets the blood pumping and enhances the gameplay and scores 16 out of 20. HYPERCHARGE Unboxed will cost £19.99, €19.99 or $19.99, and has a 10% pre-order discount up until its release date of the 30th of January. For this price you are getting a decent selection of maps and a number of ways to play with single, local and online options covered. If you are someone who enjoys online team matches, then you could get a lot of mileage out of this one. Add in the medals and collectibles, and there is definitely good value for money here, and value scores 16 out of 20. To conclude, HYPERCHARGE Unboxed is a fun and intense first-person tower defense shooter, which is good in single player and great in multiplayer. If you are looking for a team-based shooter, then this is a great option. If you like team shooters and were born in the 80s, then this game was practically made for you. A few balancing issues in single player and a slightly simplistic defense building mechanic are possible points to ponder, but ultimately there's a lot to love here. HYPERCHARGE Unboxed gets a switch up score of 84%. Thank you as always everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do remember to leave a like if you did, and consider subscribing for all things Switch all the time. Is this a game that interests you? Will you be picking it up? Please do let us know in the comments below. A quick thank you to our Patreons as always for your continued support. If you'd like to join them, the links are down in the description. And thank you to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.